In progress.
So basically, we try to do one of these a month, and we have our members submit questions beforehand, and obviously my colleagues that help me put this together have a few questions that we jot down. And anybody during the Q&A is welcome to submit questions, and we'll certainly get to those. But if you'll allow me to kiss ass for a little bit in the beginning part here.
Yeah.
So everybody knows Gus. I think he was like a pretty monumental figure in terms of anybody that's my age and was getting into poker at the start of the online boom, maybe 20, I say 20, but it's probably a little bit more or so years ago now. I think I spent countless nights watching 2K, 4K tables and falling asleep to those awesome battles between you and basically all comers at all games, all stakes. So I wanna ask you about that, but I want to start by asking you about a personal favorite game of mine, which is I think where you got your start, which is backgammon. I started playing chess and then I found backgammon, and I think that's kind of what led to poker because backgammon translates so well to gambling. And so is that how you got your, I guess, start in games and gambling in general? And then I want to ask you a little bit about backgammon.
Well, I mean, like one of my friends say, I'm a, you could say degenerate gambler, but degenerate games player. I just love playing games. I love competing, whether it's sports or games, whether it's chess, Go, bridge, backgammon, poker, etc. But in my high school years, like 16, 17, 18, I discovered backgammon, and Denmark has been for the past like 30 years one of the foremost countries in backgammon. We have tournaments all year round. We have division 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I mean, people battle for the Danish championship, etc. So there's just a good culture around it, and I got excited about it. I could play tournaments. Played my first one in Stockholm, then in Amsterdam, etc. And the ball was kind of rolling. And then I got some friends from the US, and poker was a game that they played in the US, not so much in Europe back then. And it seemed like after a couple of years on the backgammon circuit that there was more opportunities in poker. Backgammon is in some way, shape, or form a personal game. It's usually a heads-up battle, you and me. And if we play like 10, 12, 20, 40, 50 times, and I pretty much beat you every time, then you might look for a different game. But in poker, a lot of times you're 6, 7, 8 players around the table. And yeah, you know, if you win or lose, maybe you forget your losses and only remember your wins. But nonetheless, it's not so clear cut that it's always Jungleman winning. It's always this guy winning. So it's the longevity is there. Plus, it seemed like in poker there were 100 poker players for every one backgammon player. So the abyss is so much bigger. The sea is so much bigger in poker.
What sort of stakes could you get in backgammon games? I imagine that as you, just like poker, as you go higher up the ladder, that there's fewer and fewer people willing to play for those stakes. But I imagine it's pretty hard to get a game of any decent stakes.
Well, I mean, like I played with some of the poker players. I mean, that's I have played a lot with Chip Reese. Rest in peace, an old friend, and we've played many battles starting in the 90s, and the usual stake for me, some other backgammon plays, was $1,000 a point. That was the kind of going rate that was played. Sometimes 500, mostly 1,000, but that was the normal. once in a blue moon there was like a big game playing 2,000 a point, but usually the 1,000 was the going rate for the games that I was playing.
And did the cube was the cube put into play?
Obviously, that's for me. I still think that the doubling cube that we, in some weird sense, only know from backgammon is probably the greatest gambling device of all time.
I couldn't agree more.
It's just a pure mathematical. I mean, I've played with a doubling cube on the golf course. You can do it pretty much no matter what you play. You play paddle, you play tennis, you play dink ball, or whatever it is you call it over there in the US.
I was going to ask you about this too. Pickleball.
Pickleball. You can use it in all kinds of situations. It's such a great device with the 75-25 cutoff, right, unless there's some other dimension, which there is in backgammon. Yeah, so obviously that's a big part of the game. I played one high stakes games without the doubling cube, but it's an integrated part of the game. So
I agree. So backgammon, I remember Party Poker tried to implement poker gammon. This was, again, like 25 years ago or so, and there was this very small window. Maybe there was an overlap in terms of backgammon engines sort of solving the game at the time, and at the time that online backgammon for money was coming alive. And there was a very small window where the two, I think, didn't overlap, and you would actually be able to get games where, you were playing for 5, 10, some amount per point. But it quickly became evident that you were playing against, I think it was like GNU or whatever the engine was at the time. Yeah. And then after that, you couldn't get a game for more than 10 cents because it was obvious you were playing against, a bot.
Yeah. The thing is, basically, I'm not even sure I've ever played a game of online backgammon, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
The community is getting there, but probably not for money games. But
sure,
people play pleasure. Getting rating points is a big deal, but you also have people getting rating points playing with the computer. So I don't understand that train of thought, but nonetheless, yes. Backgammon in a shape or form. The big difference for me with the backgammon and the poker is that backgammon, everything is out in the open. There's no hidden information. There's no hidden information in chess. There's no hidden information in Go. So, speaking purely mathematical knowledge, we're like tiny ants compared to the computer. The computer just has computing power that is beyond anything you could ever imagine. So obviously, when you have a game that's out in the open, no hidden information, no nothing, the computer is just going to destroy you. I really like chess. I think you could say I'm a fan of Magnus Carlsen, but I loved one interview when he said, on my phone, I have this shitty chess app, and I have no chance. He has Magnus Carlsen, the greatest of all time. I'm a big fan of Kasparov as well. So that's the two giants we kind of talk about in that GOAT conversation. But Magnus seems to definitely, he's for sure up there. And he can't beat his phone, which is like a horrible chess version. That just shows you how strong the computing power is. And basically, I've been in the backgammon world. The first iteration of backgammon computers was like 95, 96, and I could beat that. The second generation, probably like 2002, I could beat that because it had a flaw that I could
exploit.
I could exploit that flaw. If we just take strictly backgammon, the second iteration was better than me. Then came the third iteration, and I'm just like, I'm dead.
I'm dead. Yep.
It's over. Now we ask the computer for advice, just like we see in poker now with the solvers. That I mean, it's become a different game, and people are much more knowledgeable. I think there's some flaws out there, but we can get into that
Sure.
for a different question.
You bring up a great point, and I've talked to a lot of people about that very concept where, we're either at or quickly getting to the point where people, have the ability to just, these brainiac types that can just study with the solver and do their best to replicate it. And so if, back in, let's say 1995 or even 2005 or something, you would sit down at a table and everyone was kind of shooting from the hip. Nobody knew the right answer, and everyone was kind of intuiting their way through the game. And obviously the cream rises. Nowadays you go and it's just like, and there used to be these big discussions on 2+2. What do you think I should have done in this hand? Somebody posts a big long thing. What would you have done with this hand? And now it's just, the post is just the hand history, and they say just put it in and see what you're supposed to do, and that's the end of the discussion. What do you think the future of poker looks like, given that we have these solver tools? And I have some ideas, but I'm curious what you think, how the future looks. Bleak, or is there still,
No, I think, I mean, I think in like the annals of history, the oldest job is prostitution and gambling. That's like the two. They've been around for years and years, and they're gonna keep being around. And I feel like back in 2002, when the World Poker Tour was introduced like 12 times a year into the homes of people in the US, and then UK, and then the Scandinavian countries, etc., and the rest of Europe followed, and then Brazil, and then Asia. For the first time, we had a gambling game that became a household game. Everybody could play. You could be at your job, and every first Friday of the month they have a poker tournament, etc., etc. So it's I think it's here to stay. People are always going to enjoy. Whether it's going to swing back a little bit towards the live experience that also has the social component, I can't say for sure. I do believe, because people ask me a lot in the sports that I do, in the paddle and the squash, etc. So we don't see poker as much on TV as we used to like 20 years ago. I say I believe there's more poker players today in 2026 than there's ever been. So that's a good sign. If I'm right in that, I think I am. But it has lost its news value. Like back in the days, there was 12 tournaments a year, so it was easier to follow. Now there's 570,000 fucking tournaments a year. So it's impossible to dissect who is the best. This is Daniel Negreanu. Is it an Adri Mateos? Is it still Phil Ivey? Is it Galfond? Whatever, people have their opinion, but it's impossible to see through all the junk. If you,
I think I've also heard for the last 25 years that in 5 years poker will be dead, and I've heard that every 3 years, and it's still thriving. So
I have not heard that to that degree. Like dead is a very big word.
Yeah, okay, fair.
That's like 100-0, but no, it's here to stay. I mean, like I could not imagine otherwise. I mean, it is a great game. I mean, like, think about it. We play a heads-up match, and on Monday you have kings and I have aces, and we play it out. And then the next day, the same hand arises, not kings as aces, because it's very simple, but similar hands. And because you just broke up with your girlfriend, or because I just had a big money losing sessions in a big cash game, the situation is completely different. You have the same hand, I have the same hand, but the situation is completely different depending on your mental state of mind, or my mental state of mind, and who can crack the code first. Okay, I know he's a different guy today than he was yesterday. Is it because he's winning? Is it because he's losing? Is it because there's outside influence that affects his mind, etc., etc.? So it's like, I think it's a great game. You will never have exactly the same situation. So there's always room for improvement. There's always room to study. There's always a new situation, and people like that. I mean, it's an exciting.
Sure. One of the things that I recently talked with Tom Dwan, and one of the things that we both agreed is that in an effort to oops, sorry, did I lose you? Okay. One of the ways to improve games as a whole, and to sort of combat the people that are just uber focused on like No Limit Hold'em or PLO, and they essentially have mastered that game, would be to do things like invent new wrinkles to the game, sort of like people do in a home game. So they'll play like 6-card PLO, or they will. One of the suggestions Tom had was like you burn 5 cards and show those 5 cards. That way, it changes things so that you can't just have an instant solution to a situation.
I've never heard that one. That's an interesting way to look at it. I think one of my strengths in my life, you could say, whether you count gambling as well, is that like I don't accept the accepted answer. If you said,
sure,
just because you have a pointy hat and happens to be the Pope doesn't mean you have the truth. So in that sense, it's like finding new ways to look at things. Don't just accept because your mentor tells you that's how it is. No discussion, that's how it is. Nah, maybe you can turn it a little, you can twist it a little bit. And the twisting about showing like 5 cards that everybody can see just changes things around completely. I mean, like, for example, say there's 2 aces out of those 5 cards.
Yeah.
How is your ace queen offsuit suddenly it definitely deteriorates, but you still have ace queen high. I mean, it still seems like it should beat out like 8-6 suited, but it's definitely going to be a lot closer.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. Obviously, in my sphere of poker, which is removed from No Limit Hold'em, and I basically play mixed games all the time. We have obviously all the new inventions. Then it was deuce to 7 triple draw.
Yeah.
Then it was Badesi, Badusi, etc. So just adding different twists here and there, and obviously most common is the PLO from 4 cards to 5 cards, from 5 cards to 6 cards. The big O, where it's 5 cards high low.
Yeah.
So I think those are interesting changes. Basically, what you said about Tom with the 5 cards open. Now you suddenly have a myriad of branches that just develops like boom.
Yeah.
Because you take all the games that we play, let's say, that are played at the World Series in the different tournament this summer in Vegas, and just have twice as many tournaments, and one of them is a normal variation, and the other one is 5 card turns up that everybody sees. And it's different games. And going by that, you can just show 1 card. You can show 2 cards. You can throw 3 cards. You can show 4. You can show 10 for all I care. So that opens up the doors for a lot of things. And I'm actually really surprised about the chess, because they've had branches in chess as well, where they play
the 960 on. Yeah. The back rank is random.
The back rank is random, which just like, hey, nobody has anything. We're here to play chess, buddy.
Yes.
We're playing mano a mano. Play some chess. See what you can, and that's very interesting. I think Magnus is doing very well in that variation too.
Not surprising. It's unlikely that he's gonna just be completely out of his depth if you change up something. I suspect he'll still be pretty good.
Yeah.
And yes, I think that's kind of a way to keep things fresh in poker, and especially combat these. I shouldn't say it as like a negative. These guys that are exceedingly awesome at one poker variant. And I think that as poker players or just games players in general, one of the things I assume that you enjoy is sort of getting a hold of a new game and intuiting your way through the game. And especially if you're playing against somebody that is of the same experience level as you, I think that's probably the funnest time. I remember playing Settlers of Catan with Galfond and then another guy, and it was we were all relatively newcomers, and that was so fun because you were seeing each of us had the opportunity to kind of learn and try to develop an exploit. Oh, does this guy know about this yet? That kind of stuff. And I think the more you can do that in poker, by opening 5 cards or adding a card, or making it high-low making it high if the flop comes black, high-low if it comes red, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Changing up those.
There's obviously unlimited variation if you just use your mind in a creative way. I think I will say I have utmost respect for some of the no limit players that really have been working, studying, analyzing, etc. I mean, they've put in the hours, and there's a reason why they more often than not are at the big whatever Triton final table. So I definitely have a lot of respect for them. But on the other hand, I also like to just jump in the trenches, like you say, and let's go at it. Nobody has done anything here. But also I'm not convinced. I'm pretty much convinced, and I've been on the backgammon journey for over 30 years, that I'm pretty much convinced that the backgammon computer, even though I think the last couple of years they haven't done extra work on it because we're getting pretty close to finished with that. Mm-hmm. I think they're pretty much in the backgammon community treated as God, if you believe in that mythical figure or not, doesn't matter. But like, you can ask there and you will get pretty much a correct answer. I'm not so sure we're there with the solvers in poker. There's some things that intuitively seems wrong to me, and what I know is that I actually have an old Instagram post of mine going along the lines where I just laugh at people who think they're playing like the solvers, because even though, let's assume that we say the solvers are God, then the best human poker player are so far from being at that level. I mean, it's laughable how far the best no limit hold'em player, whoever that might be, is from the solvers. And I'm not certain that the solvers are finished, if you understand what I'm saying, that we are at the top level yet.
Yeah, somebody had a post similar to what you're talking about, where they were saying basically the gist of the post was like, how well do you think the solver would do in in some sort of tournament with, really quality players. And somebody was like, the options were like so, not that great, really good, or destroy everyone. And a lot of people were clicking like pretty good. And I think, I can't remember who, but it might have been Galfond, where he was like, I routinely make like 2 or 3 mistakes in an individual hand. And this solver is playing, hundreds and hundreds of hands and not making a mistake. So the notion that the solver is not going to absolutely crush everyone in an event is kind of, I don't know, naive or hopeful, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the only thing, because you can argue with the degree of the wording, like crush, because it is poker,
Sure.
and there is a certain amount of luck. So
Yeah.
I mean, another way to put it, let's say there's 10,000 players in the main event, and the best player in the field, which I think is not impossible, is like 300 to 1 to win it.
Yeah.
That still means he's like 33
Yes.
times better than what he should. His chances are 33 times higher than it should be. I don't think that's impossible. I have some guys that I would gladly just pick out 10 guys and get 300 to 1 on all of them. But let's just say 300. If the computer played, I could see it being 75 to 1.
Okay.
I mean, like, I think it's definitely so much better than guy. And I think a more fair comparison, what the best guy would get 500 to 1 and the computer would get 50 to 1.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing would be like Stockfish entering a chess tournament, It's,
Well, then it's over.
Thanks for playing. Yeah. End of story.
Yeah.
I have a theory that I want to run by you about Scandinavian poker players. And for the purposes of this theory, Denmark is considered Greater Scandinavia in this discussion. But basically, it boils down to, I think Scandinavians just in general are overrepresented in the poker community, and I would say gambling as a whole. And I think that it's in part because the risk of failure for Scandinavians in general is like much higher. The floor is much higher than it would be in, say, the US, where failure, if you do decide to pursue something like gambling, the risk of ruin is astronomical. You can quickly become destitute in the US. In Scandinavia, not so much. And this kind of crystallized for me. I'm friends with Lars Luzak, and I remember talking to him probably 15 years ago now or so. And I said, what would you do if poker doesn't work out for you? And he said, I don't know. I'd probably just be like a driver or a cook or a teacher or something. And I was like, okay, that's not quite how it works in the United States. You don't just transition to that. And so I feel like Scandinavians have this ability to fire a little bit more, play a little bit higher, knowing that the safety net for them is available, where it's not in the U.S.
Okay, I'm listening, and I like to think of myself as thinking, as I mentioned earlier, outside the box, thinking many crazy lines, this and that. I've never thought of it that way. I agree with that. That is the conditions, but I'm not sure I agree with the fact that because the conditions are there, that makes them more. I wonder what it is. It could be a little snobby to say that I believe we're slightly more well-educated in Scandinavia than
I don't think that's a debate. I think that's pretty well established.
Rest of the world. But we do have do have a different sense of a sabbatical. A sabbatical when you finished your high school, when you finished your college, when you are writing a paper in university, whatever it might be. So I'm not. I'm definitely not discarding it. I'm not sure I agree with it, but definitely there could be something there to it. I think what I've seen from sports, and I've never been professional in any sports, but I've always been a very competent amateur. So I know a lot of pros. I've worked with pros, whether it's on court or on some mental topics. What was now? I have to connect the dots. What my train of thought with the sports.
We were talking Scandinavians and their.
Yes, and I completely lost my train of thought. So
we come back. We come back.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about Every Hand Revealed.
Yes.
That was mind blowing to me. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, this was basically like the first shot that you took at doing this. And I think I was in the tournament that you were doing this on. And I remember you had like a thing, and you would record the hand and your thoughts at the time. And I'm pretty sure that this was like your first attempt at it, and you end up winning the tournament.
That is not correct.
Okay. We can maybe change it for the lore after this. I'll have our editors change it, but
no. It was I can't say for sure it was but I believe it was my 8th try.
Even still, that in and of itself is wild,
and still not bad. I would like to play 8 tournaments this summer and win one.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. So no, obviously I think. As we all know, with the computer as well, the level has, risen through the ranks. The better players are better. The mediocre players are better. The weaker players are better. So it's all around. You know what? I'm just going to turn off this sound here.
Sure.
And there. Not taking anything away from my victory at the Austin Millions or some of the other tournaments that I did well on, but it was a different time. It was a different time.
Yeah,
you could with easier, or what should I say, simple. Simple methods,
a rudimentary understanding of the game.
Yes, you could definitely gain an edge, just slowly but steadily building without taking too crazy risk, and that obviously have changed because now people are pushing you, shoving you, doing whatever it
5x over bets.
So in that sense, it's still, no matter what, it's still fucking great to win an 800 tournament. And obviously I was very happy. I think I have mentioned this before, but it might not have been in a public setting. When we were down to 3-handed, I was a little nervous because I felt like my attempt would only succeed if I got to heads up.
Yeah.
Heads up, obviously much better if you win it, but heads up, you've played all the hands in the tournament.
It's fine. Yeah. It would have been
3-handed. You're like, this is.
There's still some meat on the bone.
There's no ending. Where's the ending? So, fortunately for me, cards ran well enough to get to the heads up and ran also well in the heads up. So it was a nice one, and obviously very happy about with finishing a project that was kind of flimsy, that I'd kind of set out to do, but would never really know if it materialized in one way, shape, or form, and obviously happy with the outcome. And I feel like I've received many pats on the back from people who
Yeah.
saw the book and said, "Hey, I started out with this one. It really pushed me in the right direction." Blah blah.
When I asked Tom about something and he brought up poker books, he said he's read 2 poker books, Super System and All Hands Revealed. So that's a feather in your cap, I suppose.
Definitely doesn't hurt. Definitely doesn't hurt.
I want to ask you a little bit about online poker in general. What and again, I have a theory about this, and you specifically. I have this idea that you might have been. Well, in the very beginning, we said that you are, somebody that'll play any variant of poker, pretty much. And I distinctly remember you playing online poker, and you would have a table of maybe triple draw, a table of horse, a table of stud 8, and then a PLO table running concurrently. And I have difficulty, with like 3 or more tables of just PLO. I can't imagine the difficulty, especially like in a horse round. You have one table that's stud high and then one table that's stud 8. The mental gymnastics you have to go through to be able to compete at those is very difficult. I imagine. What do you think about that? And what are your thoughts on like your experience in online poker as a whole?
Well, I mean, there's a simple answer, and basically, if you look throughout the history, I've pretty much, I think it's safe to say, I've been an idiot. I mean, basically, playing the best players in whatever game it might be, playing 2 great players at the same time, maybe in the same game, maybe in a different game. So just basically pushing myself in pretty much unwinnable situations. So I've, as is public information, that has not done well for me. I mean, just you might learn something, and I feel like I'm pretty happy, and feel pretty confident that I'm a better poker player now than I was back when I won tournaments. I've matured in some ways. Others I've matured a little bit. I still have ways to go, but I created, like I said, unwinnable scenarios for myself. I really like I like playing the limit games. I think I'm fairly well rounded in all poker disciplines, but like I'm not dying to play a high roller no limit hold'em tournament, which I might have done back in 2008 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. Because I can just beat them all, but no, I can't. I mean, like, I'm not gonna do well in a 50K buy-in no limit hold'em tournament with the Foxons and the Adri Mateos and the whatever they are even called. I'm just not. I'd like to play mixed games with all these guys every day for the next 5 years, because I don't think they're gonna do too well. But in that game, they're obviously better than me. And if we then turn back time and I basically try to come to battle everybody in their PLO game and everybody in their triple draw game, and there was a group of Germans that were very good in triple
limit hold'em.
Yes, there was definitely some. There was a group of Omaha 8 players. I don't think I've ever publicly used that word before, but now we're talking, I'm just going to say it anyway.
Sure.
I am 99.999% they cheated me. So, but that's beside the point. I played, I lost.
And you're here now.
I'm still around.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna come to Vegas for the entire summer. I'm still gonna play tournaments. I still play some cash games. So I survived, but definitely I also one of my trademarks in poker is I do believe I have made more mistakes in poker than any other poker player that has ever played the game. One reason, because I put myself in very tough spots, but the other reason is I don't accept the route that everybody is taking.
Yeah.
It might be the right path. It might be the right path for them, but not for me. But also, it might not be 100% correct. Maybe it's 50% correct, and there's a better variation than just following the path A. Maybe you should go B. Maybe you should go C. Maybe you should alternate between the three. Maybe you should go A between A and B. So in that sense, I've tried out a lot of situations. I mean, like in '08, there's different kinds of hands that are named after something I have named them, because
yes,
everybody knows that's hands that Gus plays. So in that sense, I like to test things out. If they work out, obviously great. If they only work out for a while because people have difficulty playing against it, that's also fine. If it works out because it's actually a better path than what the rest are doing, then even greater. But I like to test out the parameters. I like to go a little here, a little left, a little right, a little upstairs, a little downstairs, and see what develops. And also, as we talked about earlier, like going into the trenches, it also creates situations that people are not accustomed to. Like one, for example, obviously both very accomplished players, Jungle Man and Ike Haxton, which has both of them has frequented Bobby's Room game, the 2 and 4,000, 3 and 6,000, whatever we were playing. Most of the time, No Limit Hold'em was part of the rotation, but a short stacked variation. We used to
50 cap or something, right? Or 20 cap?
No, 40 big blinds cap.
40 cap, okay.
40 cap with a slightly higher ante than in tournaments, probably a 1.5x instead of 1x.
Yeah.
So it probably played more like 33 big blinds or something like that. So fairly short stack. And that's also a phrase that is coined after me. But and I know some players have taken it to them. But like, so I'm on the button, everybody folds, and I have Ike Haxton and Jungle Man in the small and the big blind. Perfect spot. So I just happen to have a good hand, ace king on the button. So I raise. But what do you do now? So we're playing 40 BBs, which probably translate to a little less, but it's 40 BB.
Yeah.
And now you have two really, really good players. So what do? I 6.5 exit and just say it's 40K cap, so it's easy 6,500. And you see both of them like going, and I just immediately shouts out computer malfunction. And that's exactly because they had done their studies. They had been in front of but they had still not encountered a 6.5x. So from the button.
It's the equivalent of opening with the rook pawn up or something like that.
So they were this, and as it turned out, I couldn't take it and moved in for 40K with his king 3 suited, and I won 40K that hand. But so again, and I think that's an interesting part of the solvers that people might not have gotten enough into, but it's like, what if I make a small mistake to make them make a big mistake?
Yes.
Going into all those scenarios where, what if I push this button? Okay, I know it's a mistake, but if I study, I can see that it's a minor mistake. It's a mistake I can accept, and I might be more well-rounded in the situations that arises from that small mistake than they are. So in that, basically, what I'm saying is just what we call exploits nowadays.
Yep.
But
Yep.
going along those lines, I think that's an interesting part. And again, the more well-rounded you are in your studies with the solvers, the more you know your baseline, the more you know that you're actually doing an exploit instead of doing something because you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. I think there's some of the players that they know they have their baseline for this player, they have their baseline for this player, they have their own, and now they're stepping out of line because they see an opportunity to exploit, where you have some other players that have studied a little bit, and sometimes the ones that have studied a little bit thinks they know more than the guys who've studied a lot.
Yes.
And now they're doing something wacky, and you can call it an exploit, which is what they will call it if they succeed with it. But as it turns out, they just had no fucking clue what they were doing.
I think I saw a clip, maybe it was a TikTok or something from Galfond, where he said, basically to your point, that for forever, the cutoff opens, big blind calls, and the big blind has this notion that I'm supposed to check 100% of the time. And it was called, when somebody didn't check, it was called a donk bet, because it was a way to identify a poor player. Fast forward, now we see that to your example, the Jungle Mans and the Ike Haxtons are doing a donk bet at times. So it must be at least part of an overall approach to incorporate something like that.
I actually saw that with Phil with the donk betting, and I think he actually advised people against it because it made the branches of the tree so much bigger and more difficult to find the right approach.
Right.
So he actually suggested, unless you really, really went into a hardcore study, that maybe shying away from that donk bet would be a good idea. And I think Phil is one of the greatest teachers of poker of all time. So I have utmost respect for him as a teacher, as a player, as a person. But that one, I'm gonna go in a different direction. I absolutely love the donk bet. I do it more than anyone could imagine.
It's worth the look when from your opponent when they don't get checked into.
Well, basically, I mean, one thing is obviously online, where you don't get to see the expression of your opponent. But I think if you utilize it the right way in a live setting, if you get a reaction from your opponent, I think you've already won.
Yes.
Meaning, like,
yeah.
If they stumble backwards and you haven't already won, then the answer is pretty clear. You're just not a good enough poker player.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
To deal with.
Beat them when they obviously are caught by surprise and they have to gather their thoughts, in which case you should get some kind of read of the strength of their holding. So that should be to your advantage. So, like I actually mentioned it earlier, is like, is it because it's right to donk bet? Is it because it's right for a period of time? What is the real answer? But it's definitely right for a period of time if you get your opponent to sit up in the chair and shake his head, because that should be information that you can gain some knowledge about the strength.
I suspect that if we were playing backgammon and we roll for first and it's 6-5 and it's my turn first, and I don't run the back guy out, you might go, okay, little something, little tell.
Yeah.
Little pick something up. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about sports. You brought up a few different sports, a lot of racket sports. How's your tennis game currently? How far did you get in tennis? And have you ever had any high stakes matches? The natural inclination or person that I'm going to say is Antonius, but you tell me who the best players are in the poker world, and have you ever had any high stakes matches?
Well, I mean, the answers are pretty easy. First of all, my skill level in tennis has always been somewhat exaggerated in the poker world. I was a I was a decent player. I could play on lower college level, but not in one of the good Stanford or whatever. So I'm a decent tennis player. If you're not a tennis player, I'm gonna beat you for sure. If you're a good tennis player, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So I've always been decent. Like I said, I've never been pro level, but I've always been very good amateur. And I did have Patrick Antonius was a better tennis player than me when he was late years of his juniors. But we did have a match set up that never happened. Patrick
There's
was
still time.
Yeah, Patrick was injured for a while, and it kind of slided into the sand. And
Yeah.
I actually haven't played tennis for a couple of years because usually in Denmark we play on clay, and the twists and the turns are I'm just better suited and also more trained for the movement of squash and the movement of paddle. So I've kind of put the tennis racket on the shelf. But as far as unless you actually have a pro tennis player, which Gaël Monfils played some back in the time, so he's obviously by far the best. I've had a couple encounters with Boris Becker in the poker world as well, so he would be the top two. But as an actual poker player, the best that I know of is David Benjamin.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was phenomenal. He was very good. I mean, he did lose a very close match, like in the third set tiebreak against Boris Becker.
That's a good resume.
So I mean, like he was top tier in France, which is much better to be top tier in France than it is to be top tier in Denmark.
Sure.
And he was higher top tier than I was in Denmark, even though. So yeah, he would be the best. But I mean, like, and I don't use this word too often, but David Benjamin is a very talented guy. He has a lot of strings to play on. Unfortunately, one of his strings is aligned with a little degeneracy as well as mine.
Sure.
But yeah, he was at the top of his game in poker back whatever 15 years ago, and very strong opponent. Then he had some momentary lapse of reason for some years, and so did I, and so did others from that time. So he would be my top guess for poker player that was actually
I like that. That's a great pull. I want to jump back into something because I had jotted this down, and this goes back to online poker. For forever I thought you were, let's just say at 08, maybe you were fourth in the world, and then No Limit Hold'em you were 10, and then PLO you were 9, and then Limit Hold'em you were whatever. It doesn't matter. But I think that routinely you were playing the 1, 1, 1, 1 in each of these games. And so, in any other situation, almost any other situation, you're going to come out on top because you're damn near the best player. It just so happens that you're playing the 1 of each of these games, and at times at the same time, which is blows my mind.
Yes, well, I mean, I think it goes back to I think I used the word idiot. You could say fool. You could say foolish. I think maybe foolish is the best way to describe it, because it's like again, I think I think it's a great way to learn.
Yeah.
Let's say your normal stakes, you're playing 100, 200.
Yeah.
Now you have this guy upcoming. He's beating everybody online, his this and that, but you can get a game with him heads up for playing 10, 20. Just fucking go for it. I mean,
Yeah.
this guy 10, 20. See how he beats you. Notice as a learning experience.
It's a cheap lesson.
But when you're playing 1 and 200, don't play this guy for 2, 400, which is in essence what I was doing. Like just trying on all cylinders just to play whoever wanted to play. And as you said, in a lot of instances, it was probably a very good, very well-rounded opponent. And again, as we all know, it cost a lot of zeros with a real number in front.
But
so
you're here.
I'd like to again. Was it part of shaping you, who you are, who you become?
Sure.
Yes, but I can still look back and think I should have dealt with those circumstances a bit differently. I can't. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm just going to say, okay,
water under the bridge.
We're going to move on. Like I said, I feel like I'm more composed nowadays. You just don't snap your fingers and you turn from an alcoholic to a non-alcoholic, which is a very comparable way of looking at it. But I've definitely gotten better at some of my biggest flaws. Definitely moving back to Denmark, having my 5-year-old son.
I was going to ask you about that too. How much of an impact that had on sort of steadying you?
It definitely has. I've never been the organized sheep in my family. I have been rather disorganized, and having my son is like forces me to organize things that normally, because again, one should remember that when you're in the gambling world, it's a different lifestyle. You can be on your own and have your 9-to-5 job, but you still have to meet next day at 9, and you leave at 5 and you meet the next day at 9. Whereas in my world, it's like I'm calling up
whatever you want.
My buddy Theo and saying, hey, I see there's a tournament at Cyprus. Should we go? Okay, when do we leave? I think this afternoon. Okay. So, I mean, like, but doing what you feel like doing. Okay, no, I don't feel like going to Cyprus because I'm going to play some tennis with my buddies. Okay, maybe we'll go tomorrow. Yeah, I have another tennis game, but we can go on Friday.
Yeah.
So with that, your life obviously gets turned completely around when you have another focus point, which is my son. So he's definitely been helpful on my sleeping patterns. I'm not with the mom, so I have him half the time. So he helps me with my sleeping patterns when I have him, but then it gets discombobulated the next week when I don't have him. And it's not the Donald Trump discombobulator that he used down in Venezuela. But that's another point. But yeah, it's just I live in a different world. I mean, I have my 2 to 3 trips to Vegas a year, and then I'm obviously with Winamax, the French company, which I'm very, very happy about. I mean, it's actually been very good for me, and probably also one of the reasons why I'm playing more and more tournaments, why I'm looking forward to this World Series of Poker this summer, where I'd like to, I don't know what the limits are on podcasts, but I just feel like I'm going to fuck them all.
Yep, I love it.
No, I feel confident. I'm looking forward to it. There's definitely some tests there. I would like to get back and create some good results in some tournaments. So in that sense, the camaraderie and the really good players that are on the Winamax team, and my old friend who's running the team is definitely been a good way for me to get back into the swing of things.
I'm really glad to hear it. Gus, I feel like I could do this for the next 6 or 7 hours, but I can't take your whole day. So I really appreciate you coming on and chatting. I thought that was awesome, and perhaps we can do this again sometime in the summer, perhaps in person in Vegas, maybe, or after you win a handful of tournaments.
Yes, I love the fact that you say handful, because I was thinking 4 or 5 as well.
Yes.
So that's perfect. No, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was nice ping ponging
Yes.
going back.
A lot of different topics.
It was really nice. And definitely you have my number. Give me a buzz, and we'll have another chat.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Gus, and we will talk soon.
Thanks for
Bye,
having me.
everyone.